No one invited humans to the court of radiance. We were tolerated, barely. Observed like curiosities, filed under useful but inelegant in the archives of the galaxy. So when Marcus Hale was summoned alone into the crystalline throne hall of the Aurelian Dominion, most believed it was for one of two reasons: execution or humiliation. The hall itself was designed to break spirits, a mile-long chamber of floating amber pillars, each inscribed with the victories of the Dominion. Gravity bent subtly inward, forcing visitors to bow without realizing it. The air shimmered with controlled radiation that made weaker species dizzy, emotional, pliable. Marcus felt none of it. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, spine straight, breathing steady. His uniform was plain, dark gray, no medals visible. The kind of attire worn by people who didn't need reminders of what they'd survived. At the far end of the chamber, upon a levitating throne of living crystal, sat Empress Lysara Vale, sovereign of 7 spiral arms, scourge of the Kar Rift, beloved conqueror of 1,000 systems. She was beautiful in the way storms are beautiful. Tall, willowy, skin like pale molten gold etched with faint bioluminescent veins. Her eyes, 3 of them, regarded Marcus with polite disdain. A circlet of hovering light fragments crowned her head, reacting subtly to her emotional state. Amused, curious, predatory. Around her stood the Dominion elite, warlords plated in ceremonial armor, scholars with neural halos, diplomats with smiles sharpened by centuries of intrigue. Marcus was the only human in the room. "Step forward," the Empress said, her voice resonating through layered harmonics designed to inspire awe. Marcus took 3 steps, stopped precisely where the floor markings ended. A ripple of surprise passed through the court. Most outsiders overshot, or froze early. Interesting. "So," Lysara continued, reclining slightly, "you are the human advisor they insisted I hear before approving the border expansion." "I am," Marcus said calmly. No bow. Gasps echoed softly. The Empress tilted her head. "Do humans no longer show respect to their betters?" Marcus met her gaze without flinching. "We show respect where it's earned." The room tightened like a drawn blade. One of the warlords snarled. Another reached for a weapon before thinking better of it. Lysara laughed, a light musical sound. "Dangerous." "Bold," she said. "Or foolish. I haven't decided." She gestured lazily. "Tell me, human, what qualifies you to advise an empire that has conquered star systems before your species discovered metallurgy?" Marcus paused. "Just long enough." "I've survived," he said. A chuckle rippled through the court. "Survived. How quaint." Lysara's circlet glowed brighter. "Survival is not an accomplishment, it is an instinct." "For prey," Marcus replied evenly. Silence fell like a dropped glass. The Empress leaned forward now. "Careful." Marcus nodded once. "Always." She studied him more closely, the scars at his jawline, the subtle stiffness in his left shoulder. The eyes that didn't wander, didn't seek approval. "Tell me something, human," Lysara said softly. "How many battles have you fought?" This was it, the moment they'd brought him here for. The court watched eagerly. Humans were young, fragile, useful in skirmishes maybe. But a war record? They expected a number they could laugh at. Marcus didn't answer immediately. He thought of dust-choked trenches under twin suns, of orbital debris burning through atmosphere like falling gods, of evacuation ships that never made it, of orders given too late and friends who followed them anyway. 28, he said. The sound that followed was nothing. No laughter, no whispers, no triumphant scoffs, just stillness. Lysara's circlet dimmed. 28? She repeated. Yes. Primary engagements? Yes. Not simulations? No. The Empress's fingers tightened on the arm of her throne. That is statistically improbable, one of the scholars muttered, frantically checking data. Marcus shrugged. I wasn't keeping score. A murmur spread. One warlord leaned toward another. That's more than my lineage has fought in 3 generations. Lysara's voice was quieter now. Against whom? Marcus exhaled slowly. Sometimes aliens, sometimes machines, sometimes ourselves. That last word landed harder than the rest. You fight your own kind? She asked. We argue, Marcus said. Then we learn, or we die, usually both. The Empress rose from her throne. The room instinctively bowed. Marcus did not. She descended the steps until only a few meters separated them. Up close, her presence was overwhelming. Gravity fields shifting, pheromones adjusting, psychic pressure probing for fear. Marcus felt it press against old wounds and break. You do not fear me, Lysara said. No, Marcus replied. I respect you. There's a difference. Her third eye narrowed. You stand at the heart of my empire, surrounded by beings who could tear you apart, atom by atom. Marcus nodded. I know. Then why are you so calm? He considered her question carefully. Because I've been in rooms quieter than this, he said, and they were louder with danger. Something in Lysara shifted. Not anger, recognition. You carry yourself like a veteran, she said slowly. Yet you speak without pride, without hunger. Pride gets people killed, Marcus said. Hunger, too. She circled him now, studying him like a puzzle that refused to fit the frame. Tell me, human, she said. In your 28 battles, how many did you win? Marcus stopped her with a glance. That's the wrong question. The court leaned in. The right question, he continued, is how many I ended. Lysara froze. I ended 23, Marcus said. 5 are still burning somewhere. A chill swept through the chamber. Ended, not won, not conquered. Ended. You speak as if war is a disease, the Empress said. It is, Marcus replied, and like any disease, you can treat symptoms, or stop the spread. She returned to her throne slowly. This expansion you're planning, Marcus said, voice steady, will trigger 3 cascading conflicts. One with a species you've underestimated, one with your own border houses, and one you won't even see until it's too late. How could you possibly know that? A general demanded. Marcus looked at him. Because I've lived through that pattern 6 times. The Empress sat, silent. For a long moment, no one dared speak. Finally, Lysara asked, What would you do instead? Marcus folded his hands behind his back again. I'd pull back. Open trade corridors instead of invasion routes. Let your rivals feel included rather than cornered. And prepare not for conquest, but for defense. Defense? She echoed. There's something coming, Marcus said quietly. Something older than both our civilizations. And it doesn't care how elegant your fleets are. The Empress's eyes darkened. You humans always speak of threats in the dark. Marcus met her gaze. Because we've already met them. The court erupted into whispers. Lysara raised a hand for silence. She studied Marcus Hale, not as a curiosity, not as a subordinate, but as an equal who had walked roads she had not. At the start of this audience, she said, I intended to remind you how small your species is. She paused. Now I find myself wondering how you survived long enough to become this dangerous. Marcus inclined his head just slightly. We don't survive because we're strong, he said. We survive because we adapt. And when that fails, we endure, the Empress smiled, not arrogantly, respectfully. Perhaps, she said, the Aurelian Dominion has something to learn from a human who refuses to kneel. And for the first time in centuries, the Court of Radiance did not look down on humanity. They looked carefully,